Welcome to the Deep Dive. The idea is simple. You hand us the sources, the research, the notes, those fascinating, sometimes obscure documents, and we give you the shortcut to what's really going on inside them.
And today we are really jumping into a fascinating one. It's an address from 1979 by Reverend Sun Myung Moon titled simply Restored Family.
And it's so much more than just a speech, right? It's this incredibly detailed vision of, well, everything. Global history, culture, spirituality.
Everything. And our mission today is really to analyze that specific theological framework he's presenting, the claims he makes about history and about the American family at the time, and the revolutionary role for his members.
Okay, and the source kicks off with an idea that, for me, just completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. It talks about the friction between East and West, which we all see as a bad thing.
Right, some to be avoided.
But here it's described as something you welcomed.
Exactly. It's the essential starting point. The argument is that the friction is necessary. It's what exposes the differences between the two cultures, and only through that, that confrontation, can those differences be worked out.
And eliminated.
And eliminated so that East and West can become one single harmonious unit. That friction is a divine preparation.
Okay, so let's unpack that. I mean, that's a huge historical roadmap.
Yeah.
If these cultures are meant to fuse, how does the source explain how they developed in the first place?
Well, the view presented is that they're like spiritual twins. The claim is that what the text calls Oriental culture got its spiritual foundation sorted out sooner, a deeper wisdom.
And it goes even further than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It states that the origins of all ancient cultures, including, what we think of as the bedrock of the West, Hellenic culture, are actually found in the eastern part of the world, in Asia Minor.
So the spiritual center of gravity starts in the East.
Yeah.
But then Christianity comes along and, according to the source, takes a long, long detour.
A tragic detour in their view. The original intended plan for Christianity was for it to start in Asia Minor, that kind of geographical midpoint, and then spread east.
Towards the Orient.
Exactly. The idea was for it to build on those existing spiritual foundations, on Buddhism, on Confucianism. And by doing that, it would become this perfect, unifying religion for the whole world.
But of course, that's not what happened. The crucifixion, that just fundamentally changed the whole direction.
Completely. Yeah, the crucifixion forced Christianity in the total opposite direction.
Westward.
West, toward Rome, then across Europe, and, eventually landing in the United States.
So this current movement, as described in 1979, is framed as Christianity finally
coming full circle. Right.
Spreading back across the Pacific from America to unite with the East and fulfill that original blocked plan.
And that huge cosmic historical framework then slams right into the politics of 1979, specifically the relationship between the U.S. and the Korean Peninsula.
Yeah, this part is really stunning.
It makes a wild geopolitical claim for the time. It mentions that both President Nixon and then President Carter wanted to pull troops out of Korea, a huge political issue back then.
And the source claims that, quote, some power is preventing Carter from doing so.
And this isn't seen as, politics or Congress. It's framed as direct divine intervention.
And that divine intervention is tied directly to the movement's leader. The claim is that God sent Reverend Moon to America, and it's the Korean arm is holding Americas very tightly.
Yeah. For a listener in 1979, with all the tension in that region, that is an assertion of profound God-ordained power.
And that political claim then connects to a really sharp critique of American culture at the time.
A scathing critique. It's argued that this intervention is necessary because America is in a crisis, a situation where people find no value in their anchor institutions, not the family, not the church, not even in themselves.
And this decay, this emptiness, It's not an accident. It's actually being allowed by God for a reason.
Yes, the cultural hunger analogy. God is letting Americans feel, quote, very hungry culturally.
Because if you're starving,
when something with real substance, real value comes along, you won't think twice. You'll just grab it. This spiritual vacuum is basically preparing the ground for them.
Which explains, the source says, why so many young people in '79 were drawn to Oriental mysticism and moving to California.
The place closest to the Orient.
Right. They're searching for that next spiritual meal, even if they don't know what it is.
And this new culture requires a total reset of your daily life. The old culture, as it's described, is, a slow breakfast, maybe an 11 a.m. church service.
Very leisurely.
Very. The new culture, it means waking up at 3 in the morning, attending services at 6 a.m.
That is a radical shift in discipline, and there's a metaphor for this, right? The rooster.
The rooster is the spiritual alarm clock. Important things, divine things, they always start early, right before the dawn. The members' time of suffering is like that darkest part of the night, but they're climbing out, ready for that spiritual sunrise.
The dawn of East-West unity.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the results of this spiritual dawn. A huge claimed accomplishment is getting young people from East and West to merge, to seek spouses from other parts of the world. I mean, that's a radical social mandate.
It's foundational to the next big concept, which is creating a heavenly magnet. But before we get there, the source goes on this really interesting tangent about the physics of attraction itself.
Framed through the idea of mystery.
Entirely. Why does a man yearn for a woman? Because she is a mystery. The second she is completely known, the attraction vanishes.
And this leads to a very direct and striking cultural criticism of American women in 1979.
It is very direct. The text states that American women are, quote, exposing themselves too much, and in doing so, losing their attraction. The source literally describes them as being all open and straightforward like machine guns.
Wow. And the contrast it provides is stark.
It's very stark. In contrast, it describes women from the Oriental tradition, and again, we're using the language of the 1979 source here, as being secretive.
And that secrecy is a weapon.
A great weapon, because it maintains that crucial element of mystery.
That's a really charged cultural observation, but the source then connects this whole idea of mystery directly back to God.
And that's the link that makes it all a divine principle. The text argues God himself is a mystery for the exact same reason. If you could see God from every angle, know everything about him, you'd lose interest.
So the mystery is the source of the attraction.
It is. Therefore, the source claims the growing attraction to the unification church is because the world doesn't fully understand it. The mystery is what pulls people in.
To the heavenly magnet.
Yes. The members themselves are this magnet, a new breed made out of 5 different components.
Representing the 5 major races of humanity.
Right. And this intentional, multiracial, cross-cultural makeup is what supposedly gives the group this tremendous pulling power. They are the new humanity, and that brings us back to suffering.
Which, again, gets flipped on its head. Persecution is defined as the sign of blessing being given somehow.
It's proof that you're on the right track. The source claims God finds his champions on the lower level. Why? Because Satan is busy focusing his energy on the top level, on people with power and prestige.
So if you're being persecuted, it means you've slipped out from under Satan's control and are being guided to become one of God's champions.
Precisely.
This all builds to the absolute core of the theology, which is the highest possible religious goal. And it isn't personal salvation.
No, it's not about you or your family or your nation. The highest goal is liberating God.
Liberating God.
The source states that God's heart was broken by the fall of Adam and Eve, and the entire purpose of human history since then is to bring God rest and to heal that sadness. There is, quote, no higher religion.
That changes the entire dynamic of worship, doesn't it? I mean, if God needs liberation, the focus completely shifts.
Absolutely. And it's connected directly to Jesus's philosophy. Not my will, but thy will be done. But the source says you have to go further. You have to yearn to be God's liberator yourself, to become a Messiah.
To the point of being willing to sacrifice your own church for God's sake.
For the sake of God, I can sacrifice my own Christian church. That is a staggering demand.
So how does a person prove they're worthy of a task that immense? Healing the heart of God.
That's the ultimate loyalty test. And it is psychologically brutal. A person has to be put in a position where they receive absolute rejection, total suffering, even what looks like rejection from God himself.
And from the whole satanic world.
And still remain loyal, unwavering.
That's a paradox. How can you love a God who is allowing you to suffer so completely?
The source says the suffering has to be so intense that even the original Adam and Eve would have complained. But the follower has to endure it and still love God. That absolute loyalty in the face of absolute suffering, that is the secret method to finally heal God's heart.
And this is all demonstrated, the source claims, by the Unification Seminary at the time.
Yeah, it points to the faculty, which included scholars from Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Islamic traditions, and it claims that outside observers see this as either completely stupid or else a genius.
But the text is clear. This is the path, that these other groups are destined to join them to survive.
Right.
Okay, let's bring this down from the cosmic level to the individual member.
Yeah.
The quality that's demanded of them is described as being round and big as a ball in your mind.
Roundness. It's code for total flexibility. If you're a ball, you can roll in any direction, at any time.
Ready for any mission.
Any mission, fundraising with peanuts or with ginseng, witnessing to strangers, it doesn't matter. The whole movement has to be round enough to roll into any part of life.
And the end goal of all this, the final destination, is the restored family, the original ideal of creation.
Right, but you only get there after passing these massive examinations on the family, society, nation, and world levels.
And even the path to that ideal family, through marriage, requires this radical mindset.
A radical approach. The correct attitude is to lower your expectations for marriage to the lowest possible level.
The source even asks a rhetorical question about it, doesn't it? Would you prefer a good husband or a bad husband to prove your love for God?
It does. And the implied answer is that you should ask for the worst possible husband.
Because that provides the greatest opportunity to prove your devotion.
And through your devotion, you can make him most outstanding and heroic. The sacrifice is the key.
And that level of sacrifice has to be connected to an absolutely immense cosmic reward.
It is. The scale of the final plan is astronomical. The source describes the universe as God's jewel box. It says there are countless planets literally made of gold, ruby, emerald.
And Earth, in this grand scheme, is tiny.
A minuscule accomplishment. The text says God has plans to give these jeweled planets away to his restored children.
But our physical bodies are so slow, so clumsy. How could we possibly travel to all of these worlds?
That's where the spirit man comes in. The spirit body moves faster than electricity or light. It allows for instant travel to any planet in God's jewel box.
And there's no maintenance required.
None. In the spirit world, your clothes are always sparkling. You're ready for cosmic conquest.
So that's the cosmic inheritance. But back on Earth, the practical application is something called home church.
And it is incredibly demanding. Members have to visit 360 homes in their community. And this isn't just social work, it's essential spiritual labor.
It's described as building a barrier of love.
A barrier of love so strong it's greater than the protection unfallen Adam and Eve had.
Wait, 360 homes. I mean, that is a huge commitment on top of, a job, daily life, everything else.
It's immense. But the source stresses that the difficulty, the rejection, the sheer grinding effort of it is for the members' own benefit. This is the fortress building that guarantees your eternal stability, your victory over the entire satanic world.
The difficulty is the proof. Furnace.
Exactly. It proves you're worthy of those jeweled planets.
Wow. We have covered so much ground here, from the divine purpose of east-west friction all the way to a spirit man traveling faster than light.
At the center of it all is one core idea. The value of God's son or daughter cannot be traded for the whole universe. That incredible eternal reward reframes all the suffering on earth. It's just a limited period of struggle, a necessary investment.
And that brings us to the final, really provocative thought from the source. That this opportunity to suffer right now, in this time, on this planet, will never come again.
So if your eternity holds limitless high-speed conquest among jeweled planets reserved just for you, how does that vision fundamentally change the weight and the meaning of every single struggle you face today?
Something for you to ponder, long after that spiritual alarm clock rings. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time for more knowledge and insight.